Something is for sure. We are eternal.
Hey, Composer Gloves here, and this is a sound demo video and I guess sort of a review for East West Ghost Rider. Today we're looking at the vocal patches in it, and I'm just going to play some, and I'm also going to go over the drums. So we just have a whole bunch of vocals. Some go through amps, some don't. I really like this set of samples they have here. Here's just some stuff. So these all pretty much sound the same. They just put different presets on them. So let's go over to the next one. Pretty cool. They have let's see, this one's with an amp. Oh my, let's not use the amp one. That's got the vibrato. Yeah, those are interesting. They always include these vibrato type sample things. Let me see if the mod wheel's linked up to this somehow. Nope, it's not. So they always include these. I just find it interesting because, like, what am I going to do? Like, morph from a previous sample into this one? And it's not always... These are kind of slow attacks, so that might actually be possible, but I don't know. Those just seem generally less intuitive. Got that. Here we have breathy. Filtered. I really like these voice sounds. I think they're just awesome. Oh, wow. Maybe writing a scary soundtrack that'd be useful. So something that I would like is access, because in Kontakt they have similar vocal libraries. If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick the Kontakt one because a lot of these things I would be able to morph between a lot easier. I'd be able to write my own scripts to morph them as well if I wanted to get like that crazy. Most libraries have already done it for you. And you can see this reverse thing is like really cool, right? Someone touches that and they'd be like, whoa, that's amazing. But and another sampler, you could get at the original samples, and you could do that on any of these sounds at will. Right here, you kind of just have to settle for the one variation they gave you. So that's sort of a bummer in that respect. So just so you know what's out there. So they have all these kits. Let's just play a few of them, see what they sound like. That's why I play my scary music while it loads. Oh my. All right, so okay, yeah, it is. C1, yeah, this follows this thing, MIDI mapping. Yeah, I'm not the greatest keyboard drummer in the world, just so you know, if you haven't figured it out yet. These also take quite a bit longer to load. I guess not, maybe it's just that first one. They have gated reverb on these, so that's worth knowing. They've taped up dry kit. Let's look at the dry kit. Oh, dry kits load faster. Yeah, interesting. So that's that. Here we have these FX kits. Dry kits, I don't know, they all sound like the same kit, which is different processing. FX kit 3, let's look at that one. Give you the problem I have with drum kits like this is it's a lot harder to just mix one element. I mean, they have a mixer and you could throw stuff in here, but it's a lot, like you can go into your post-processing in your DAW and actually mess with stuff as opposed to right here. Like you could do stuff in here. It's just not that intuitive to me to do it this way. And that's also a problem I have with some of their drum loops and the way things have been set up, just not that great as far as incorporating it into my production and having an ease of mix. It's much more difficult to mix with a kit like this. So the samples have to be substantially better, or I'm going to open up a bunch of tracks and I'm going to use only the kick on one and only the hat on another, and I'll do something like that instead. There are a variety of ways of dealing with what I just described, but that's just one of the things I've found. I just don't like using drum kits in setups like this. But sometimes they have cool samples, and I'll do what I said earlier. Unless I don't care to, unless the mixing, it depends on what I'm mixing as well. Like some styles of music, I'll use something like this because mixing makes a lot more sense, or not more sense, but it's just easier to deal with in a setup like that. So we got a whole bunch of neat kicks. Then we have some mono amp kicks. Let's see what these sound like. Do I have no, my filter's off. Sounds like it's been filtered. Must just be the amp. So those are some options for your kits. Drums, I think the drums sound great. Again, working with the GUI is sort of annoying in the respect that you will need to probably bounce out specific parts of your track if you want to mix it like that, or you could bounce out the MIDI onto separate MIDI tracks, or you could use the mixer in here. Why do I keep clicking that? And you can mess with stuff in here, but I don't believe they give you any inserts. So in those ways, not the greatest thing. Probably more powerful in your DAW if you were to just render out stuff. So you write out your drum part and then you mix it after. I tend to do my mixing at the same time as my composition, because that's when you're doing both sides of it, that's just what you do. So, yep, if you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe, drop a comment about your opinion on some of these things. Do you think it's worth it? What do you think of the vocals? I like the vocals. This is actually the last video and this review thing. So I think overall it's a great library. I know a lot about synthesis, and if I were to buy a library like this, it'd be specifically for real sounds, like the samples that come with it. I don't see too big a reason to get this, to be honest. I can think of other libraries that do better jobs at this. I don't think the interface is all that. I think it's a friendly interface, but as far as incorporating it in your DAW, it's more difficult versus other systems. And there's no third-party development, and you don't have access to the samples, and that's just an in general East-West thing. That's a route they've decided to take. So there are some great sounds in here, but there's a lot of things that are just presets that are just built off of other sounds. Like literally all they did was like maybe run it through a different piece of gear, and that was it. And you can't go in and do anything like real custom to that. You could get really creative with post to make this a very useful library. But yeah, so that's my review of it. I think it's great. I think the samples are really nice. And yeah, what do you think of it? Do you use it a lot? Is this integrated? Maybe you think this is the greatest thing in the world. If you tend to know a lot about sound design and things, you probably have some shortcomings. Maybe just list, some pros and cons on what you like to use. I didn't go into the interface at all just because it's a pretty simple interface. You have an amp sim, you have a reverb sim, and tuning, delay, filters, envelopes. You come down here, you can get creative with your MIDI channels, and you can actually do a lot of mixing right here as well as the mixer itself. But I just don't think it plays that nicely with other DAWs and things. You can export MIDI files from it, and this particular library, it's not too big a deal. In other libraries, I find that to be a big freaking deal. So yes, that's what it is. That's what I think of it. Would I use it? Yeah, I'd use it. Yeah, well, I have it, so yeah, I'll use it. I really like the vocals. Some guitar sounds I really like. I dig the basses. I think the basses are a strong point on this. I think some of their drum samples are strong points. Each one of these things has its small parts, but I'd say the basses, vocals, and some guitar and drum samples. The rest, their keyboard sounds, and not too crazy about these. I have other stuff I'd go to for things like that. So, yep, and have a blessed day.
Opposing blows. Reversing.